Macau versus Las Vegas. I'm Chris. This is Yellow Productions. I do travel guides that are fun, informative, and entertaining. This video, it's a live stream. If you're on the live stream, I'm looking forward to hanging out with y'all for about the next 45 minutes. If you're watching the archive, well, make sure to subscribe, click the bell to turn on notifications so you get notified of future live streams. And so now Macau, it's often referred to as the Las Vegas of Asia, but is it really? And so in this live stream, we're going to take a deep dive on how Macau compares to Vegas. I've done lots of videos about Vegas. I've done lots of videos about Macau, but I've never done a video comparing the two together. And I thought this would be a good time, particularly because Yoshi Moore asked 2 days ago, Chris, can you please do a Macau versus Las Vegas video? Which is better? So that's what we're going to be talking about. By the way, I'm sure there's lots of people that are interested in Las Vegas, when it's reopening, all that stuff. I will take those sorts of questions and talk about the reopening status when we get to the question and answer section at the end. And you'll know we're in the random question section answer at the end because you'll see the spinning question mark. But as we go through Macau versus Las Vegas, if you're on the live stream, I'd like to know what you think, what your thoughts are, if you've been there, what you've heard. And so as we're going through this, the things I'm going to touch on, I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of these places. We'll talk about the casinos. We'll talk about the Las Vegas Strip versus the Cotai Strip. We're going to talk about the food in Las Vegas versus Macau, what the shows are like, the weather, getting in, whether it's easy or hard, and what some of the sites are other than casinos and gambling in these places. But related to Macau, I want to start with that because I don't think a lot of people are familiar with Macau. I don't think as many people have been to Macau as have been to Vegas. And so I want to share actually the overview of Macau from a video that I shot in 2018 in Macau, if I look magically younger. Macau has been a Portuguese colony. It was for about 400 years, from the 1500s until 1999, which now it's a special administrative region of China. Macau, it's very small. It is like 11 square miles, but 640,000 people live here. Every year, though, the 2017, 30 million visitors came to visit Macau, most of them from mainland China. Macau is famous for two things. One, the old Portuguese square being this old Portuguese colony. That's one of the major reasons to come here. Also for gambling. This is the only place in China where gambling is legal. And so the visitors from China who come here, they primarily come to gamble. In fact, gambling is so popular in Macau that the gambling in the casinos in Macau has generated 7 times what the Las Vegas Strip generates in gambling revenue. That's pretty crazy. If you're coming from Hong Kong, it's definitely worth a day trip, maybe even an overnight trip if you want to spend some time in Cotai. We'll talk about getting in a moment, but you should know Macau has like 4 areas. There's the Macau Peninsula, which has kind of the main Portuguese village here with the ruins of St. Paul. Going down south, there's Taipa, the Cotai Strip, where the casinos are, and then all at the end is Koloan. And so Steve on the live stream says, hi from Vienna, Austria. You can't compare Macau and Vegas. Macau is business. Well, Vegas is fun. So that's the overview of Macau. And I saw from the live stream, some people said, hey, what is Macau? Anyway, well, so now there you know a little bit about Macau. I'll go into more of the history in just a second, but that was to give you a quick overview. Wu Taiwan says the old church facade looks interesting. It does, and I'll talk more about the churches in Macau as we get to the sites section. Roy asks, are there as many tourist traps in Macau as Vegas? I don't think there are. Vegas has lots of tourist traps. So now, Vegas, what's an overview of Vegas? Well, Vegas, it's often referred to as Sin City, or many people just call it Vegas. It is Las Vegas, Las L-A-S, though lazy people like me often pronounce it Las Vegas. And of course, people that actually speak Spanish say it's not Las Vegas, it's Las Vegas. Las Vegas is known for gambling, shopping, fine dining, entertainment, nightlife, and Las Vegas is even becoming like a kids' destination now too, family friendly. The metropolitan area of Las Vegas significantly bigger than Macau. Las Vegas has a metropolitan area of 2.2 million people, and Las Vegas is the biggest U.S. city founded in the 1900s, so that makes it the fastest growing big city in the U.S. All right, so now I want to talk a little bit about the history of both these places, and since I was talking about Las Vegas, I thought I'd talk more about the Las Vegas history first. So, if you ever wondered what Las Vegas means the meadows in Spanish. The name Las Vegas was given to the area in 1829 by a member of a Spanish trading party that was traveling to Los Angeles. And why would you call it the meadows? Because Las Vegas seems like a desert, and today when you go it is. But in the 1800s, there were actually extensive green areas fed by artesian wells. At that time, Las Vegas was part of Mexico, but in 1814, Las Vegas shifted from Mexico to the United States. In 1905, that's actually when Las Vegas started to be a real city. It's because the railroad came into town and it connected Las Vegas with Salt Lake City in Utah and Los Angeles in California. Now, it's funny, we think today of Las Vegas as a gambling mecca, but actually Nevada outlawed gambling in 1910, but organized crime kept it running in illicit casinos. There was so much gambling going on, the state said, fine, we'll just legalize it. Nevada legalized gambling in 1931, but organized crime already had a steady foothold, and so the whole mob reputation of organized crime and gambling in Vegas came from that time. The first casinos in Vegas opened up on Fremont Street, which is downtown Las Vegas. That was the first paved street in Vegas and also the first street with a stoplight. In 1941, the first hotel opened on the Las Vegas Strip, known as the El Rancho, and what did the El Rancho have? The El Rancho had a buffet that everybody really liked, and that's where the Las Vegas buffet got its start. In 1954, Las Vegas was already drawing 8 million visitors per year, spending $200 million each year in the casinos, seeing big shows like Elvis Presley and eating at the buffets. And the time that really Las Vegas changed again is in 1989. Steve Wynn opened the Mirage, the city's first mega resort. Old cities were torn down to make way for the mega casinos that we know today, like the Bellagio and the Venetian. So if you never knew the Wynn of the Wynn Hotel, Steve Wynn opened the Mirage, the first mega resort, with the really great volcano. And by the way, I love when people on the live stream keep me straight. Susie says Las Vegas is not the capital of Nevada. Carson City is the capital. Thank you for the correction. Las Vegas is certainly the biggest one. April says, I think the oldest still standing on the Strip is the Flamingo. It is certainly one of the oldest. I don't know off the top of my head which one it is. Anthony says, if you can read my comment, I would love it. I watch all your videos, and I've been there 7 times and go to the best hotels. Awesome. And Christine says, if you want to know more about the mob in Las Vegas, visit the Mob Museum downtown, a wealth of knowledge. I've yet to go, but I've heard a lot of great remarks from it. And the Dalai Lama online says, fun fact, the Mob Museum is free on Valentine's Day, commemorating the Valentine's Day Massacre. That is a fun fact. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so now let's talk a little more about the history of Macau. I gave you the brief history in the overview just a moment ago, but Macau, so in 1557, that's when Macau, Portuguese merchants were granted land by the Ming Dynasty in China to establish a trading post in Macau. And the name Macau, sometimes spelled like I spelled it in the title, M-A-C-A-U, other times it's spelled M-A-C-A-O, same place. It's derived from the Chinese Amago, or Bay of Ama, for Ama, the patron goddess of saints. So now the big things in the history of Macau that brought it to become a gambling place is in 1841, neighboring Hong Kong Island was given from China to the British, and to compete with Hong Kong, Macau legalized gambling 3 years later. Macau was a big shipping port, but once Hong Kong became part of the British Empire, all the ships were going to Hong Kong instead, and so Macau said, well, you know what's going to bring people here? We're going to legalize gambling. About 30 years later, in 1887, Macau became a full colony of Portugal. Fast forward in the 19th century, Macau, in the 1900s, Macau had over 200 Chinese gambling houses. So they had a lot of different, essentially, casinos, but they weren't casinos like we know them today. They were places that offered Chinese games. But in 1962, the government of Macau awarded monopoly rights to a single casino company that introduced Western-style games and modernized the ferry transport to Macau, bringing millions of visitors from Hong Kong every year. Now, the other things that really start to spin Macau into becoming the Las Vegas of Asia is in 1997, Hong Kong returned to China. In 1999, Macau returned to China. Both Hong Kong and Macau are now these special administrative regions, which means they kind of follow different rules than the rest of China. In 2002, in Macau, the gambling monopoly was ended, and they awarded it now to 6 different companies that can run casinos. So that was when some of the big names like MGM and the Sands were able to move in. And in 2006, Macau actually overtook Las Vegas in the amount of money gambled in casinos every year. And on August 2007, the world's largest casino opened in Macau, the Venetian Macau. And this coincided with the opening of the Cotai Strip, which is Macau's equivalent to the Las Vegas Strip, though not exactly equivalent. And Macau has 38 casinos operating today. The next thing I'm going to talk about, speaking of casinos, is the casinos. But first, let me go to some comments in the live stream. Lance says, fun fact, Macau is the most densely populated region on Earth. That is a fun fact. Thank you for sharing that. It's a very small place, and yes, there are a lot of people there. Big Al says, if I can talk about how to get to Macau, people may not know how to get there from Hong Kong, especially via ferry. I will. I have a section on getting in, and so I will talk about that there. Wu Taiwan says Macau is also a fireworks hub, as in they manufacture fireworks, or it's a great place to see fireworks. Rachel says, what's the size difference between Vegas and Macau? It's a huge size difference. Like Macau is like a tiny speck of land, and Vegas is huge. Christine says, I've heard that Las Vegas has taken the process of opening casinos in Asia and using them as a guideline for Las Vegas. I think that probably is a reasonable perspective, actually. And certainly with the whole COVID-19 shutdowns, this and that, the things that we're seeing the Wynn in Vegas announce are pretty similar to the things that they did in Macau, because they shut down for 2 weeks in February in Macau, and they've reopened. And so I think that's what we'll see a lot of the Vegas casinos doing. And OC Girl points out it's the fireworks festival in Macau. Thank you very much, OC Girl. Casino Magazine asks why the room rates in Macau are so expensive. It depends when you're looking, but if you're looking on weekends, yes, the room rates are really expensive in Macau because most of the visitors to Macau come from mainland China. They come on the weekends. They come extensively to gamble. And so that makes them expensive. If you go on weekdays, though, the room rates can actually be really inexpensive on weekdays. And there's a video review in my Hong Kong and Macau playlist. On a previous trip, we stayed at the Conrad Macau, and we paid like $200 a night and got a room that was nearly 2,000 square feet. It was like bigger than our house. And so you can actually find good deals on that. Shay says, when I was in Macau, what I didn't like is almost everything in Chinese. I couldn't understand everything. You know, it's interesting because I find there is a lot of Chinese, but I've never had any problems communicating with people. I find that at least in the casinos, I found the menus that there's typically English variants. So I haven't found that to be all that difficult in Macau, as maybe in mainland China it would be more difficult. Dorothy asks if Vegas is more fun than Macau if you're not interested in gambling, like buffets and free shows. My short answer to that is probably yes. Vegas, I think, is more fun if you're not interested in gambling, particularly if what you're interested in are buffets and free shows. That is not to say that Macau isn't interesting. There's some really neat historical sites, the churches, this and that. We'll talk about that as we get to the sites section. But I do think Vegas has more stuff to do outside of the casinos. It started as a casino destination, yeah, but Macau really exists today as a place to do serious gambling. So let me talk about that now that we're going to talk about casinos. So, first of all, let's talk about Macau casinos, and I've got another little clip for you that I recorded in Macau a couple years ago talking about the casinos. I said it better then, I'm sure, than I could say right now. So here we go. Be back with you in 2 minutes. Let's talk about casinos. You need to know about casinos before you come to Macau. I mentioned earlier the Cotai Strip right here. This is where all the big casino hotels are. The City of Dreams, the Wynn, the Venetian, which I'm standing at right now. But you should know if you're going into the casinos here, they're a little bit paranoid, actually ultra paranoid. Going into every single casino here, you will go through metal detectors, and they do not allow cameras even to be shown in the casinos. We were walking into a casino, and the girl had a camera around her neck, and they said, you got to put it in the bag before you come into the casino. It's actually gotten a lot better now than it used to be. When I came here 10 years ago, they actually put a sticker over my camera with a no camera sign over it. Really keep your cameras away when you're in the casinos here. In the casino hotels, it's okay to take photos and videos in the common areas, but here at the Venetian, if you go past that point with the white screens, then no cameras after that. Vegas, Tim says the casinos in Macau are very quiet compared to Vegas. They are quieter, and that's because the people who go to Macau, they're going to gamble. They're not really going to have fun, and they're not really going to party, and they're not really going with big groups. They are going to gamble, seriously gamble, like all weekend, like don't sleep gambling. The main game in Macau is Baccarat. They also have more Asian games than Vegas does, like Sickbo. It's a dice game that uses 3 dice. The slot machines I would describe as much more boring. They're slot machines that have more like card symbols, but not with all the same mini games in Vegas. There is no smoking in the casinos in Macau, which I like as a non-smoker. As you saw in my clip before, they're much more restrictive with no photos. You can't even have your cameras out. Just a few entrances to the casino so they can do the security checks and check for photos. Definitely no kids in the casinos. Maybe one reason why, in the Casino Lisboa, which is one of the oldest casinos in Macau, they actually have like topless acts in the casino. But it's funny, they have this entertainment and literally nobody's paying attention to the act because they are all there seriously gambling. And April says, what's the point in gambling if it's not for fun? It's to win money, of course. That's why you gamble, right? Adam asks if you get free drinks when you gamble in Macau. It's a good question, and I did not gamble enough time to get free drinks. I would say I think there are free drinks, and actually something that is interesting in Macau, they actually have you can get bottled water, and they just have it all around the casino. You can pick up the bottled water, which I like. Sidewinder says, Vegas casinos don't let you have cameras. I was told not to take one in Planet Hollywood one time. Yeah, but not the same way as in Macau. Like, in Macau, the security guards stand by the door and look at every person. When I went to one of the casinos in Macau, they actually searched my bag, and I had a video camera in the bag, because I carry a video camera, and they took a sticker that said no photos, and they put it on my camera to make it clear to me that there were no pictures to be taken with my camera. Rachel asks if you can have your phones out in the Macau casino. You can have your phones out, yeah, but they don't like the notion of, table selfies or those sorts of things. April likes the no smoking in Macau casino. She says that's one thing I cannot stand about Vegas is the smoking. Yuck. I will say I don't really love the secondhand smoke as well. Sean asks how many casino hotels they have in Macau. They have 38 casinos in Macau. That doesn't make them 38 casino hotels, but they have 38 casinos casinos in Macau. Jeff says, even gambling is different between Asians to Americans. Americans will shout when they win. With Asians, they ask the same whether they win or lose. That's probably true. Casino Magazine asks if there was poker in Macau casinos. I did see poker. I saw more virtual poker, but not nearly as much poker as in Vegas. Like, poker is huge in Vegas. And so the biggest difference, I would say, is that Vegas has a fun, casual atmosphere in the casinos. It feels like a party all the time and everywhere. Las Vegas casinos really try to cater to the everyday person, families, and groups. Macau casinos make their money on the whales, the people with tons of money. And actually, Macau casinos have special arrangements with promoters who bring in people with lots of money from mainland China and other places. And those promoters that get the whales to the casinos, if the whale loses a lot of money, the person who helped brought them there actually shares in the profits and the winnings from that whale. So even though, like, walking around the casinos are big, where the real money is wagered and won or lost is in the private shows. Cindy B wants to know if Vegas will be fully open in October. Cindy, I'm going to talk all about COVID-19 and whether things are going to be opening when I get to the question and answer section of the video. Okay, so next topic I want to talk about is I want to talk about the Strip, the difference between the Las Vegas Strip and the Cotai Strip. So we'll first start with Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Strip, it's great to walk around. There's lots of shops. There's lots of restaurants. You can walk from one hotel to the next hotel. There's lots of people watching. There's fun, free shows. You know, one of the things that people ask me about, say, Chris, will the stripper cards be back? The people who hand on the street. I think some people like to collect those things, but there's also some unsavory things on the Las Vegas Strip. There's vagrants. There's three-card Monty. Obviously, those people that hand out the stripper cards are probably slightly unsavory. But how does that compare to Macau and the Cotai Strip? So the Macau-Cotai Strip, it is not designed for walking. It is significantly smaller than the Las Vegas Strip. The Macau-Cotai Strip has no shops on the strip itself. Very few people, much more sterile. Much more manufactured feeling. It's funny to say that because Las Vegas is manufactured, but it's evolved since the 1940s into this kind of melting pot that it is. But in Macau, really to get between the hotels, you need to take buses. And almost every hotel has a shuttle bus, like lounge or area, where there will be 10 to 20 different buses that arrive there. The hotels provide these buses that you can take to the different hotels. So it's much harder to leave the hotels in Macau than in Vegas. Macau feels much more grand and sparkling because they've built it to be grand, but yet built cheaper. If you were looking for the center of the strip in Macau, it's around the Venetian Hotel and the City of Dreams. We'll talk more about the City of Dreams coming up. But about the Venetian, I mentioned earlier, the Venetian is the world's biggest casino. It is way bigger in Macau than it is in Las Vegas. It's Macau's biggest shopping mall. The food court at the Venetian in Macau is 5 times bigger than the one in Las Vegas. I am estimating 5 times bigger. It's huge. It's got a Tim Ho Wan in the food court, which is a Michelin-starred dim sum restaurant, which I really like. I will point out that the people who visit the food courts and restaurants in Macau like to spit. So if you don't like spitting, you might be eating your food and if you're near a trash can, you might have someone come up behind you and go, yeah, that's right. I covered that microphone so it wasn't too loud when I did it. Now, the casinos are busy, but the shops in the casino hotels, they're empty. They're devoid of people. I mentioned they're huge, but they're empty. And in the Venetian in particular, the lighting is stark white. It's like this super bright white. And also the canals in the Venetian, they seem faker in Macau than they do in Las Vegas. Jaya wants to know, Chris, which is best, Macau or Vegas? It really depends what you're going for, but I think that's what this whole video is about, so I probably can't answer that question quite yet. IR Aaron says, I like the Venetian in Macau more than the Venetian in Vegas. IR Aaron, what do you like better about the Venetian in Macau than the Venetian in Vegas? OC Steve says, Happy Alien Day 426. All right. Thank you, OC Steve. And welcome, Evans World, to the live stream. Sidewinder says, walking the Vegas Strip at night is the best. Not too hot and nice weather is perfect. My wife and I go to Vegas a lot. Obviously not now, but when it opens, we'll be going. Yeah, and walking the Cotai Strip is just kind of boring. Wu Taiwan says Macau and Hong Kong are a nice duo I want to see. I think Macau is a night trip situation. I want the Portuguese food. My recommendation, and so yes, I think if you are visiting Hong Kong, I think Macau is a must visit. You can do Macau either in a day trip, but I think if you do it in a day trip, you don't really get to see enough. I definitely do recommend either 1 or 2 nights in Macau if you really want to see the hotels, because much like Vegas, being big hotels, if you really want to explore them, I would spend 2 nights in Macau so you can see the shows, you can eat a lot of the restaurants, if you really want to experience a lot of Macau. If you just want to get in and get out, you can absolutely do it in a day trip because the ferry from Hong Kong is just an hour. Evan wants to know when I think the Cosmopolitan will open. I'll talk all about the opening situation in Las Vegas when we get to the question and answer section at the end. I was smiling and having a hard time answering this question because XD Cat says, Chris, I made flip-flops. Please show the bottom of your left foot and I will send you a yellow pair. The bottom of my left foot. This is weird to show my foot on live stream. Is it just because you want to see if I do it? This is there you go. That's the bottom of my size 14 left foot. Oh, and this is where I had the escalator incident, which is doing pretty good, healed up. Size US 14. All right. You know, with this whole quarantine situation, things are getting weird. So let's continue talking about the food. All right. So first, let's talk about Las Vegas food. Las Vegas, I think, is one of the best foodie cities in the USA. Well known for its buffets, low-end buffets, high-end dining, low-end dining, cheap eats, quick eats, slow eats. There's lots of bars, which you will not find very many bars in Macau. Like the experience of Las Vegas of having these strip side bars, those don't exist in Macau. Also, like the notion of like lounges in the casinos for drinking, those don't really exist in Macau either, because why would you want to spend your time over in the lounge when you could spend your time gambling? And so I always enjoy the food in Vegas. I think it's pretty good, and I always look forward to eating at least one buffet. So now let's talk about the Macau food. And to talk about the Macau food, I've got a little clip to show you about food in Macau that I recorded in Macau. I'll be back in 3 minutes. Traditional Macanese food is a fusion between Portuguese food and Cantonese food. Dating back over 400 years of history, it is often considered the world's first fusion food. Of course, you'll find a lot of good high-end Chinese food here as well. You'll find those in the casinos. I'm drinking Hong Kong milk tea, a lot of influence from Hong Kong, but definitely when you're in the old city center, the old Portuguese part, check out some of the Portuguese Cantonese fusion restaurants. Something super popular to get in Macau is the pork chop bun. If you're getting this in Portugal, it'd be called the bifana. We've had them in Portugal, so I'm curious how they taste here. There's a bunch of little stalls that sell these. The one we're at, it's called Tai Lei Loi Cake, and it's right in front of the ruins of St. Paul. This one's on a regular Portuguese-style bun. They can also do it on a croissant right here, or they can do it on a pineapple bun, which is a Hong Kong specialty. They were sold out of those, so let's give this a go. They're pretty good. It's a thin slice of pork chop. The pork chop is lightly breaded. It's a nice fluffy bun. It's hot. Pretty delicious. A good afternoon pick-me-up. around a bunch of super touristy things around St. Paul's. Check this place out. When you come to Macau, you need to get an egg tart, or known as a nata, pastel de nata. This is a Portuguese colony after all, and these are Portuguese egg tarts. If you've been to dim sum restaurants in Hong Kong or dim sum restaurants in the world, you will see egg tarts, sometimes referred to as dan tat, egg tart. But they came from here. They came from Macau. This is what popularized it. There's 2 stores that made it popular. Lord Stow's is the original, and right now I'm at Margaret's Cafe Inata, husband and wife team. The wife runs this store now. And you get these egg tarts. They're hot, they're fried, a long line. This is a busy, popular place. Don't come on Wednesdays because they're closed on Wednesdays. And you can get a fresh, flaky egg tart out in the street. See how flaky it is? It's fresh. And if you have egg tarts that aren't fresh, they kind of all stick together, but a hot, fresh one kind of tastes like an egg custard in a crispy croissant. It's definitely worth your time. And the wait, we only waited 5 or 7 minutes in line, but just know how many you want to order when you get to the front. They really want to keep that line moving. 10 Hong Kong dollars or Macau pataka each, which is about $1.25 US. To taste some of the original egg tarts in Macau, visit Lord Stow's Bakery. It's right there. That's the original location. We are not there. We are at the Venetian Hotel, where they have a location with the egg tarts. These cost a little more than at the other place. These are 12 Macau patakas. There's Lord Stow right there. He looks like a pretty friendly guy, doesn't he? A lot of egg tarts. So, let's give these a try, see how these compare. Warm, buttery, flaky. I feel like this one might be a little bit more buttery than the other one. And it's a little warmer. But if you blindfolded me and gave me a taste test, I'm not sure that I could tell the difference. I will give Lord Stow's a plus because the location's nicer. And if you take a look over there, it's in the Venetian, and you can actually see the Venetian shops off in the distance. A little bit nicer than that middle of Macau weird apartment complex eating area. All right, so now if I can push this button. So Steve says he's been to a fantastic Portuguese restaurant in the Galaxy Hotel. So that was looking at kind of what the Portuguese food is in Macau. And I think that's what the unique food is there. So you should definitely try the Portuguese eats and the egg tarts. They are quite delicious. But you're not going to find buffets in Macau. Buffets are not really a big thing. No bars that I mentioned earlier. The Asian food in Macau is also the thing to eat. Much better than the Asian food in Vegas, particularly Peking duck. In the City of Dreams complex in the Hyatt, there's a really delicious Peking duck restaurant. One of the best Peking ducks I've had anywhere. So I think in Macau you'll find better food for less money because so many people are gambling there, and they're gambling lots of money that the casinos haven't had to generate so much of their revenue from dining, whereas in Las Vegas, because gambling revenues are down, they are having to generate more revenue from dining, which means the prices of food have gone up considerably in Vegas. Vegas is no longer really cheap to eat good food, and good food, you're going to be paying quite a bit of money. Macau has a lot of Michelin-starred restaurants. The food courts, I think they're better, the Lord Stow's Bakery that you saw in this video, you can find one at the Venetian, but there's also the original shop in Taipa or Koloan, which is pretty neat to check that out. I checked that out on my first visit there, and you can see the original kind of Portuguese parts of Macau. Shay recommends getting into Macau through the new bridge with the bus. It's awesome way through the sea, 45-minute trip. I've not taken that, Shay, but thank you for the recommendation. Sean asks, how am I going to play slots in Macau? This means there aren't so many slots in Macau casinos. I'll gamble less than I would do in Vegas. I would say there are plenty of slots in Macau casinos. I just don't think they're as fun. And Big Al says, for a casino, I ate at the Grand Orbit buffet inside the Sands Casino. It was good. Actually, that is the one buffet I've also eaten at in Macau, and it was quite good because we were staying at the Conrad Macau, which is in that same complex. We had breakfast there. We saw the lunch and the dinner, and that actually is one impressive buffet. Christine says, related to Vegas, Tacos El Gordo is some of the best cheap eats in Vegas. If you go, don't park around it in the other parking lots. They'll tow you. We saw 6 people being towed out of the Walgreens parking lot. Thank you for the tip, Christine Miller. Actually, a video that I shot previous to the Las Vegas shutdown was the best cheapest eats on the Las Vegas Strip, and Tacos El Gordo is where I shot the thumbnail photo of it. So when Vegas reopens, I'll be uploading that video. I haven't uploaded it now because well, because everything's closed, and why would I upload a video about food that you can't eat right now? Rachel says she heard our little princess in the background. Can I see her? She just moved to another room because she was being a little bit fussy. So you will just have to imagine her based on some of those coos. And Cab says, yes, I hear her too. She wanted to be part of the live stream, clearly. The High Road says, how are Macau casinos and hotels doing since they reopened from COVID using masks? Yes, to go in Macau casinos today, you have to wear a mask. They do a temperature check. They screen you. Their visitors are down considerably. They used to get something like 3 million visitors a month. Now that their first month they reopened, they only got 250,000, so way less. So I think we'll see kind of similar in Vegas when it reopens. Jake McShane asked if they understand English in Macau. I had no problem speaking English with any of the staff in Macau. Okay, let's go on to the next section. Let's talk about shows. One of the big reasons people like to go to Vegas is they like to see the shows. And Vegas has lots of great shows. Vegas has lots of free shows. Vegas has lots of big shows like Cirque du Soleil. Vegas has the Bellagio fountains. Macau has shows too. Like they have a show that kind of competes with Cirque du Soleil called the House of Dancing Water, which is really impressive. If you go to Macau, you should check out that show. But you don't have a lot of options for shows. Like Vegas has, you can go to the cheap tickets tonight and have your choice of like 100 shows in Vegas. Macau, you can count the number on 2 hands. And the free shows, they're interesting from a cultural perspective because you'll be like, that's interesting that they would do that for a show. Actually, one I want to share with you was something we saw at the City of Dreams. We saw these 2 girls basically pretending to be girls in a music box. So this is about 30 seconds. Let's take a look at this. So you probably have to say that is probably not something you see every day. So it's interesting to go to Macau and just see the different things they do as shows. One show that used to be free that they charge like the equivalent of $5 for now in the City of Dreams. There's like this projection dragon show where you walk in this projection dome. This was one of the coolest things that I think I saw when I was there in the show variety. So that's another one of those things that you probably have to agree you have never seen anything like that in Vegas. I certainly hadn't either, and it used to be free, but the Chinese often come in tour groups, and so I think the tour groups were just filling the free show up, and so they charge a few dollars just to keep it so that the tour groups don't clog it up. Steve comments and said that they have a cheap copy of the Bellagio fountains there. It's a really small, cheap copy of the Bellagio fountains. A lot of their things are smaller versions of stuff. And Steve comments that the taxi drivers don't speak English, which is probably true for almost taxi drivers in non-English countries around the world. Wu Tai says, I have noticed that a lot of cities in Asia are very visual like this. They are, and they certainly like that dragon aesthetic or motif. April agrees that the dragon show is cool. The dragon show was pretty cool. IR Aaron says they used to have a Cirque du Soleil show at the Venetian Macau, but they got rid of it due to low sales. I think the House of Dancing Water is the one that's doing well because why low sales? Because the people who go to Macau don't go there to see shows. They go there for serious gambling. That's why people go there. All right. So let's talk about the weather a little bit. The weather in Las Vegas, it's hot, right? It's a desert climate in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is among the sunniest, driest, and least humid locations in North America. On average, there's 134 days in Vegas that top 90 degrees Fahrenheit or 32 degrees Celsius. And of those, 74 days a year in Las Vegas are over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 38 degrees Celsius. That's hot. And there will be 7 days a year that are over 110 degrees Fahrenheit, over 43 degrees Celsius. Macau has a humid subtropical climate. It's subject to monsoon, so actually Macau can be quite wet and rainy. Summers are hot and humid. The winter season is the dry and cool season. In spring, it's generally warm and foggy, cool and clear in autumn. The average annual temperature is 20 degrees Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit, and it can be hot in that they have about 100 days with temperatures over 30 degrees Celsius or 86 degrees Fahrenheit. But it's really the humidity that'll sap the life out of you there. Okay, so let's talk about getting in. So getting into Macau, Macau has its own international airport, Macau International Airport. It is just 1 mile from the Cotai Strip. There are no direct flights from the U.S. to Macau. Like if you're coming from the U.S., you'd need to transfer in China, Seoul, Taiwan. Many people who go to Macau that aren't coming from nearby, like coming from far away, coming from Europe, coming from the US, coming from Australia, typically would combine it with a trip to Hong Kong. Every time I've been to Macau has been combined with a trip to Hong Kong. There's 2 ways to get there from Hong Kong. One, you can take the ferry ride. I like the ferry ride. And 2, you can take a new bus over this bridge. It's like one of the world's longest bridges. And so depending upon where you're staying, makes more sense to take one or the other. The buses on the bridge leave near Hong Kong International Airport. The ferries leave near Central on Hong Kong Island. I've always taken the ferry over, 1 hour ferry ride, fairly inexpensive. Now getting into Vegas, most people fly to Vegas. Las Vegas has flights from, seems like, everywhere in the world. People who don't fly, Vegas has a big drive market, mostly from Southern California. A lot of visitors combine Las Vegas with driving trips to the west coast of California, like San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, and Las Vegas. It's kind of a classic U.S. trip. Let's see. Dorothy says, how much does it cost getting from the airport in Las Vegas to the strip hotels by bus, by taxi? I've never taken the bus. The buses are like a couple bucks if it goes to where you want to. Taxi, $20, $30. It's been a while since I've taken a taxi. I think my last Uber ride from the airport to a hotel was about $20. I don't know how to pronounce this person's name, but he says, if using Hong Kong, make sure the airport is open and conditions are safe for entry. Protests may be nearby. Absolutely, that situation is still going on in Hong Kong. 7Z says Macau is 100% better than Vegas because you can go to Hong Kong, Zhuhai, and Shenzhen and others. Thank you for the perspective, 7Z. Casino Magazine asks if the minimum bets in table games are higher in Macau. I think they are. I don't exactly remember what the numbers are, but I do feel like they were higher. I feel like Vegas caters to, the people who just want to spend a few dollars, and Macau's catering to people who are going to spend a lot. Wu Taiwan says, after just 3 days in Las Vegas, my throat was dry constantly, and it never went away. Yeah, that does sound like Vegas. April says, thank goodness for the lack of humidity in Vegas. She likes the dry heat better than a humid heat. Yeah, and another comment was that the humidity in Macau makes sightseeing very difficult. And Ken says Las Vegas taxis are now a fixed rate, $25 to $35, depending on the section of the strip. Thanks for that report, Ken. I guess, as I said, it has been a long time since I've taken a taxi out of the Las Vegas airport. Okay, so let's talk about sights. We'll first start with Macau sightseeing, and then we'll compare and contrast with Vegas. As I've done with the previous sections, I'm going to show you that clip I did in 2018 about the sights, because it's cooler to see the sights than just see me waving my hands, insinuating what they look like. So I'll be back with you here in 3 minutes after we see Chris from 2018 talking about the sights. By the way, definitely don't go away, because I'll be giving away a Yellow Productions neck gaiter. You can use it as a face mask for what's going on today. One lucky winner will win this on the live stream. All right, here we go. What number am I pressing? This is clip number 4. Lots of Macau outside of the casinos and the commercial, Portuguese district, kind of feel a little empty. This is the Fisherman's Wharf shopping mall. It was a very ambitious project. They've recreated different scenes around the world, but walking around here at 1 p.m. on a Monday, it is empty, and a lot of the shopping areas in Macau kind of feel that way. This one maybe in particular because it's just off the beaten casino path, but where is everybody? They're either seeing the Portuguese sites or they're coming here for intense sessions of gambling. Yes, most of the visitors to Macau come from mainland China, and they come almost only to gamble. So that's where they'll be. When you come to Macau, if all you do is go to the casinos and go to the Portuguese Center, you will think that it's either really cute or really ritzy in the whole thing. I would encourage you, if you want to see the real Macau, get off on some of the side streets. Take a look at some of these wires. I mean, when this was a Portuguese colony, it feels like it's a little bit of a place that the land time forgot or governing forgot. And it's all within the shadows, take a look up there, of the casinos. That's the Grand Lisboa Casino, and just 2 blocks from it are these really unpainted apartment buildings. To continue your exploration of the real Macau, just there from the shadows of the Casino Lisboa, as you're walking around, make sure to check out the city's churches. This is the ruins of St. Paul. You can't go inside, but most of the city's churches, you still can go inside during daylight hours. But Macau's a really interesting cross between Christianity and Buddhism, and so there's many temples in the city too. Check out the churches and the temples. It's a pretty interesting walk to do the church and temples walk through Macau. Boy, and let me tell you, if you like incense, the smell of incense, the look of incense, or pictures of incense, you will love the inside of some of these temples. So when I said you can't go in this church, I mean, you can go in the ruins. This is the ruins of St. Paul. There used to be a church here. It burned down 3 times, and that's all that left. That's all that's left. This is the classic site in Macau, the best place to take that Instagram photo, or if you're getting engaged. So Casino Magazine asks, is Uber available in Macau? Uber Vegas is very cheap. There is no Uber in Macau, just taxis. And actually, there's a real shortage of taxis in Macau. But as Mitch says, most hotels do provide shuttle buses from the harbor to the casino and casinos to casinos. 7 says, though, one of the problems with Macau pre-COVID-19 is the crowd. It is crowded. There are so many people. I think right now it's not that crowded, but yeah, as you could see from some of those scenes in the historic Portuguese village, it was crowded. Now, I think, The Portuguese village is worth a good part of a day if you want to explore the whole thing. There's kind of this neat UNESCO World Heritage Walk. You can see the ruins of St. Paul, that church facade. That is the most iconic site in Macau. And there's lots of these old Portuguese churches. I kind of think of Macau as like let's say there was a rupture in the Matrix, and the Matrix was having it's like this Portuguese city that got merged with this kind of like weird Chinese city. I mean, it's an odd, unique place, and so there's also the Macau Tower, which is kind of like the stratosphere. Someone alluded to that earlier. It is the highest bungee jump in the world. And as Seven mentioned, it's great to connect with Hong Kong or other parts of China. Speedy says, dude, you're one of the few YouTubers to do HD streams. Hey, I'm glad you're enjoying this HD stream. Thank you very much, Spidey. By the way, if you want to see the behind the scenes of how I do this live stream, it's HD because I'm using a bunch of equipment and not just a phone or something like that. I've got a link in the description to show you all the behind the scenes of how I do it. Bill says Macau is a safer place than Vegas. It does seem safer for sure. Let's see. Gene asks if Chinese require visa for Macau. I don't know what the current situation visiting Macau from China is. I do know that visiting Macau from Hong Kong, at least as a foreign visitor, they do check passports and require passports, even though it's all part of the same country. Since it's a special administrative region, you do have to show your passport. Okay, so now let's talk about Vegas sites. And Lance says, is it worth visiting the Hoover Dam? The Hoover Dam, one of the great sites around Las Vegas. And actually, Las Vegas has a lot more sites than just the casinos because so many people go there, right? There's been this whole industry that has come up. And the Hoover Dam is a great thing. I think it's worth a visit to Hoover Dam. It is one of the world's wonders, I believe. Well, at least not natural wonders, but man-made wonders. The Grand Canyon is just about 4 hours away, and Zion National Park is 3 hours away. Those are some great natural wonders that are totally worth it. You could easily kind of spend 5 days in Vegas and have lots of sights to see and lots of things to eat. Macau, I think 3 days is the max you'd want to spend. I think it would probably start to get boring after 3 days. IR Aaron help provided said, I'm Canadian. I usually enter Macau from China, and there's no visa required. Thank you for that. And Big Al said the same thing. Lance says, does Vegas have any unique souvenir shops worth checking out? There is a, on the Strip, kind of on the way to the Stratosphere. It's like the world's biggest souvenir shop. Just kind of an interesting, iconic thing. Oh, and Paul Design and Comics says, I was bored with the inside tour of Hoover Dam. The river tour was better. All right, thank you for that tip. Steve says, Chris, why did you swap your video room? I would not say I've swapped it. I'm just doing it here for a while. You'll see me back in the other room, too, with the pandas. All right, it is now question and answer time. So the first thing I want to do in question and answer time is give away the neck gator right here. And so to win the neck gator, you have to answer a question that I mentioned earlier. And to answer this, by the way, I'll ship you this neck gator anywhere in the world if you answer this correctly, which is how many casinos are in Macau? How many casinos are in Macau? If you answer how many casinos are in Macau, then you can, have this neck gator to use as a face mask to wear in style. The first person who answers that question, I will ship it anywhere in the world. If you do not get to win one, well, I've got them for sale on the Yellow Productions Etsy shop. You'll find a link in the description below if you want to pick one up. You can also pick up a Yellow Productions embroidered shirt. You can also pick up the Yellow Productions crew shirt, which has the Yellow Productions crew logo on it right there. And the first person to answer correctly was Fred Lim with 38 casinos. Fred, you win the Net Gator. Message me on Facebook with your address or send me an email to chris@yellow.net with 2 W's, and I will get that on its way. There were a lot of other people that also answered 38, and it may have shown up on a different order for you on your screen, but Fred was the first one that showed up on my screen, and Fred also has that really cute doggy for the picture right there, so they should get it. All right, if you asked a question before and I didn't answer it, I'll take about 5 minutes of questions and answer. So ask your question and make sure you have a question mark at the end of it, because that helps me look for questions. Oh, and Slotnut said the souvenir store to go to is the Gambler's General Store. And Max Gold says, Chris, did you live in Vegas for a time? I have never lived in Vegas. I've spent most of my life in sunny Southern California. However, I visit Vegas usually a couple times a year. So people say, Chris, how many times have you visited Vegas? I've probably visited Vegas, 60 times or some like extraordinary number of visits to Vegas. All right. And Matt said about souvenir stores, the Bonanza store at Sahara and Las Vegas Boulevard. All right. Grovel says, whenever I see the fireplace window, it makes him think of the IT crowd. All right, cool. And Ricky, who is the record holder of winners of merchandise from Yellow Productions, says he finally received the Yellow Productions onesie. Yeah, so you can get the Yellow Productions crew in a baby onesie that we've tried out on our little traveling princess. So, Ricky, that's great to be there. Truitt says, what do I think about the non-smoking in the casino when reopening? I can just see a smoker cutting a hole in their mask for a cigarette. I can certainly see people doing that, right? So if you haven't heard, the Wynn Hotel is going to require face masks. They're going to give out face masks to everybody who comes in Las Vegas casinos, which obviously is going to make it hard for people to smoke or impossible for people to smoke. I think the staff will just have to be mindful for that and tell people not to smoke. I mean, in Macau, they don't smoke, and people from China like to smoke. And so I personally think if there's no smoking in the casinos, that will just be better for all of us. But then again, I am a non-smoker, so I'm sure there are vegans out there that would say, hey, if we were all vegan, that would be better for all of us too. My goal is not to force a particular lifestyle on anybody. I probably go to Vegas somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 to 3 times a year. Ken says, do I think the stadium will cause Las Vegas prices to go up? I think not the stadium itself, but when there are games, certainly, because I think a lot of people will be there. Ruben asks, what do I think of the Wynn procedures for reopening? You mean the Wynn Las Vegas Health and Sanitation Program? I did a whole video just on that topic. That was my last live stream. So if you want to know what I think about these procedures, well, you'll find a link in the description or in the pinned comment to my live stream walking through that. Brandon wants to know what I think about Atlantic City. I've never been. JPV asks if he should go to Vegas at the end of May. JPV, it depends what you're looking for. If you want to see what after COVID-19 Vegas looks like, sure. If you want an experience like you used to have before with lots of things open and lots of people and this and that, that's not going to be the end of May. I think it'll be kind of a weird Vegas in the end of May. April says, what are the latest timelines for reopening that you know of? The Wynn and the Treasure Island are still saying April 15th. Other hotels have gone and said April 22nd, and MGM and some other hotels are looking at like June 1st. So that's sort of the latest timelines. Obviously, there's been this great argument between the mayor of Las Vegas and the governor of Nevada about the dates and when are the dates, and I'm not going to reopen and those sorts of things. So to be seen, but the dates that various hotels I've seen officially published planning to are May 15th, May 22nd, and June 1st for different hotels. Barry says, what's the furthest you've posted merchandise? Australia is the furthest I've posted merchandise. And Yoshi says, "Can we say hello to Topher? Which one would you like to say? Which one to? How about this Topher? This Topher was sent from some fellow explorers in Tokyo. He's got a little shirt and he's even got a little backpack too. So hi there, Yoshi. All right. So Sean asks, what do the slot machines look like in Las Vegas casinos? They sort of look like what I'd call the boring old slot machines in Vegas. You know, the ones that have like the screens and just show cards, like ace, king, queen, that sort of stuff. They're pretty boring. They're pretty non-high tech. They don't have the mini games. I like the slot machines in Vegas better. And Monaro asks if the hotels in Las Vegas will be discounted in the near future. I believe they will, but I believe you'll see the discounts once they actually open. And with that, that brings us to just about an hour. I believe all good live streams begin and end on time. So I want to thank you all for joining. I'll be doing more live streams in the future, talking about the reopening of Vegas. So if you want to know more about that, make sure you subscribe. You click the bell to turn on notifications so you get notified. Are the t-shirts available in XXL? They are. They're available up to 5XL. And Catherine says, what did you eat today? Final question. Today I did not eat this. Yesterday I ate the Habit Burger Grill. Today I had some Japanese food. I had a katsudon. So with that, I never say goodbye because I'm going to see you all in the next live stream. All right. See you then.